Bye bye shame. Haftarat Tetze. The last time we read the Haftarah of Roni Akara, I blamed you for my difficulty of engaging with Haftarot. I claimed that my struggle stemmed from my inability to gauge what you know versus what I need to provide. Since then, almost a year has passed. The Haftarah of Roni Akara is shared by Parashat Noach and Parashat Tetze, and I've learned that the second round with the Haftarah isn't much easier than the first. So maybe it's me after all? What do you do in such a situation? You start writing, hoping that something worthwhile will emerge in the end. Let's begin with some dry trivia. Our Haftarah, the fifth of the Haftarot of consolation, is short, very short, 10 psukim long. According to most communities, it's the shortest Haftarah in the year, though in some Ashkenazi communities, the Haftarah of Kedoshim is shorter with only 9 psukim. The prophet describes Yerushalayim as an abandoned widow, forgotten, but Hashem promises her comfort and redemption. Hashem will gather his people again with great love, mercy, and eternal kindness. The prophecy emphasizes that Hashem's covenant with Israel is as steadfast as the days of Noach, and their future is filled with peace and security. A search in the Tanakh lab revealed that the bot couldn't find any guiding words. It turns out that particles like ki, which appears on average once per verse, or lo, together with al, which also add up to 10, aren't considered guiding words. So I decided to look for focus elsewhere, and it seems I found it at the heart of the Haftarah. In typical fashion, the verse we'll explore is probably the most pessimistic in the Haftarah. Do not fear, says the prophet, for you will not be ashamed, nor be humiliated, for you will not be disgraced. For the shame of your youth you will forget, and the reproach of your widowhood you will no longer remember. Our verse highlights the nation's negative emotions: fear, shame, humiliation, disgrace, shame again, and once more, maybe reproach. The central question is, who and why? Just to clarify, it's obvious that the shame is directed at you, meaning the nation. More precisely, we should examine the imagery of the figures, the young woman and the widow upon whom all the buckets of scorn in our verse have been poured. Intuitively, it's easier for me to understand the shame of the young woman. Even I, the epitome of virtues, qualities, and coolness, with a capital C, can recall 1 or 2 or 10 or 80 times when I might have been, how should I put it, not exactly the pinnacle of perfection. It's natural to feel ashamed of youthful deeds. The more burning question is, why should the widow feel shame? One way to resolve this question is to, ignore it. Not in a negative way, but to treat the prophecy as a metaphor and not dwell on the personal connotations that each image evokes. For example, Rashi took this approach, sufficing with explaining your youth as your early days without feeling the need to delve into the emotions of the embarrassed widow. A similar but different solution was offered by commentators like Ibn Ezra, who skipped the metaphor's explanation and went straight to the allegorical meaning. Your youth refers to the exile of your youth, or the first and second temples, when many troubles befell Israel during their reigns. And your widowhood refers to the loss of sovereignty. What these interpretations share is that our question doesn't seem to interest them. The image of the embarrassed widow is simply a given fact, not open for discussion. But while I don't want to drag commentators into a debate they choose to avoid, I'm not planning to give up on it myself. In my opinion, understanding the widow's shame requires a much deeper acquaintance with shame itself. Without delving into the differences between shame, humiliation, and reproach, these are usually reactions to a failure to meet expectations. As the Talmud in Baba Batra says, the face of Moshe was like the sun, the face of Yoshua was like the moon. Woe to that shame, woe to that humiliation. How can we have fallen so far in so little time? The expectation, whether justified or not, was that the glory of Moshe's days would shine at least until the end of Yoshua's time. And back to our topic, considering that the widow was married to the master of the universe himself, the expectation was that her marriage would last forever. When the widow fails in her role to maintain that bond, shame is a perfectly natural response. Fortunately, The true comfort of the Haftarah is not only the promise of a better future, but also the permission to set aside the feeling of shame, because in the end, the mountains may depart and the hills may be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from you, nor shall my covenant of peace be removed, says Hashem, your comforter. In memory of my beloved and heroic student, Amichai Shimon ben Ishayem bat Yerubin Hashem Yikom Damo, Dovi Holtz, one who loves Tanakh.